Welcome, my friends, to an extremely verbose title, and I've actually started to love these very verbose titles for these posts. Pistols grant Elementalist the choice between greater damage and defense. I mean, look, there you go. That really says it all, but here it is. I think one of the more awaited weapon sets, it is going to be Elementalist Pistol, and goodness me, we have got a serious weapon. Staying true to Elementalist, I hope you weren't expecting something to be simple. I hope you weren't expecting something to have not much going on, because we actually might have the most intricate weapon mechanic to be added. I mean, we haven't seen all of them, I suppose, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was the most intricate mechanic. It looks like a lot of fun, and I think Elementalist players are absolutely going to love this. This really is going to give you exactly what people were hoping for, right? And yeah, look at that. Elemental bullets, gamers. That's right. You have your pistol, and you will be supercharging the bullets with the powers of the elements in rather interesting ways that we're about to get into. So let's actually talk about the premise of this weapon. What is actually going on here? The pistol is a condition-focused weapon that brings some mobility, crowd control, and a large amount of damage. So already, it's a very versatile toolkit. Not surprising, of course, because it is Elementalist. You have those 4 attunements. You're getting 4 auto attacks, 4 2 skills, and of course, 4 3 skills. And then you've got Weaver dual skills on top of that, because Weaver's going on there too. Remember that. The pistol will also provide some interesting gameplay decisions with its elemental bullet mechanic that grants players a selection of bonus effects. Now, one thing to note before we move on is that this doesn't appear to be a support weapon. So this is going to be heavily damage oriented. Could be really exciting to see how that actually plays out in water. So this kind of implies to me that water might be quite CC oriented. So chill, maybe a stun, right? Something that can lock down your opponents potentially. That kind of thing, like snaring allies. Earth, kind of similar, with, you know, like bleeding focus, like fire with a burning focus and so on. And air, again, kind of with that lockdown focus, potentially. So this is not a support weapon. And, you know, I think part of me did want, like, oh man, it would be really cool if we had a support weapon for like a heal Tempest. But to be fair, you already kind of have that, right? Like the dagger, Mainhand, of course, the staff, and Warhorn. There's already some room there. And if ArenaNet feel like those weapons need to be stronger, which I think they probably do, at least from the healing perspective, then I think they already have room to do that. So I think that's why this is a more focused damage weapon. Interesting choice to make it power. As well. You know, a lot of Elementalist weapons historically have been very, very hybrid, right? Like a very hybrid setup. And I think it would have been interesting if Elementalist had a ranged power weapon, because it kind of doesn't right now. You have Scepter and Staff, which are ranged, and Staff definitely could be made into that power weapon. I think that's somewhat unlikely, though, as it's kind of being pushed in the support direction. And of course, Scepter is a bit more on the condition-oriented side. So this is going to be somewhat similar to Pistol in its role, although Pistol, or rather Scepter, is much more aggressive, much more like almost like single target focus sometimes. In fact, with some of its mechanics, like a, you know, classic PvP weapon in a lot of ways. But anyway, here is the mechanic. Every time you use a pistol skill, except for your auto attacks, one of 2 things will happen. If no bullet of the same element exists, the skill will perform its base behavior and create a bullet of that element. A bullet will then hover near the player to indicate that it's been created, like this. So these are the bullets. You can see the earth one, the air one, the ice one, or the water one, and the fire one there. However, if an elemental bullet already exists, so in other words, if you have one of these things there, the skill will consume that bullet to gain a bonus effect. For example, let's check out 2 skills from the Earth attunement. Shattering Stone, slot 2, and Boulder Blast, slot 3. Shattering Stone fires a shot that inflicts bleeding and cripple, shattering into multiple fragments that also strike nearby enemies. Cool to have AoE, that's where you have potentially some differentiation from the Scepter, of course. If an Earth Bullet is available, it will be consumed to grant the user an enhancement that makes their next few attacks also inflict bleeding, so more damage. It's like a more aggressive option. Boulder Blast shoots a larger projectile that strikes a single enemy, immobilizing them and inflicting a larger amount of bleeding. If an Earth Bullet is available, it's consumed to grant the user barrier if the projectile successfully strikes an enemy. In this case, depending on the sequencing of skills, players can opt for either more damage or more defense. So in other words, if you want more DPS, you'd use your bullet on the second skill, or if you need, if you need to defend yourself, you go ahead and use it on the third skill. really cool, right? So this really gives you an idea of like, well, hang on a minute. I want to use that skill first so I can use that one to get the bonus damage, or maybe I use that one first so I can get the bonus defense later on. Really cool decision making, especially in PvP, right? In competitive modes, like really fun to play around that. And it's almost like having extra skills, right? Like you've kind of added an extra like half skill on that. So instead of getting 2 skills per element, Ellie's almost getting 3 skills, right? Like with 2 1.5 skills, right? It's like an extra skill almost with this bullet effect that can be added onto things. Some really interesting interplay with like how you might go about using all of these various abilities there as well. I guess it's gonna be so much fun to play around with. Really, really cool. And ranged weapons in general are usually pretty damn good, certainly from PvE, and I imagine this is gonna blast. It's gonna pump pretty damn hard. There are already some very solid Elementalist damage builds out there, and unsurprisingly, my analysis for PvE is gonna be simple. If this does good damage and it has numbers, this is a pretty easy shoe-in for a variety of builds for Elementalists, right? Like of the DPS variant. So it does look like it's going to be Condi, so I guess maybe not power range build, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's going to be a condition damage range builder as well. And it is really cool that ArenaNet are creating options for that durability on Elementalist. I think a lot of players do kind of want to have a bit more durability, a little bit less of a glass cannon playstyle. That's been very common, that Elementalist historically has been super high damage, but kind of sacrifices that defense in order to execute that DPS. So now, not only are you going to be at range, because bear in mind, guys, you got to think about this with range, right? The way to think about range, which is going to be 900 in this case, is that you are immune to all damage that has a range of less than 900, right? Because it can't hit you if you're out of range of it. So if you can just stand away from something, then it won't hit you. That basically means your damage is taken, it goes to 0. In addition to this barrier output that's also being going on there, or rather, you know, this more defensive output, which again will probably be the same, at least on earth and water. Maybe we even see some of that potentially on fire and air. That could be kind of cool, right? Maybe some super speed to get out of a tight spot, right? Maybe fire could give you vigor or something like that, right? You know, like almost like Phoenix, right? So you can dodge and run away, all that kind of good stuff. So that's pretty cool. And again, that gives you more uptime for PvE, and of course allows you to kind of pick off targets in PvP. The mobility aspect is also interesting from the PvP perspective, because again, mobility is absolutely key in that game mode, and indeed for world versus world roaming, for example, too. I also do like that it is AoE. I think we already talked about that a little bit, but AoE weapons in general, I feel like they always have high potential, right? Stuff like this, it's always a little bit more exciting, right? Like a single target weapon in Guild Wars 2 almost is a little bit more niche by default. Well, not almost. It is a little bit more niche by default. Let's be honest there. So going for the AoE is really cool, and I do like that. I like the idea of an AoE pistol, like firing out like molten lava and exploding. This is one of the best RP weapons, man. I do like this. And they also talk a little bit about Weaver here. Weaver makes things a bit more complicated because they can attune to multiple elements at once and have access to multi-element dual attacks. So how does it interact with elemental bullets? What a great question. Dual attacks can consume bullets of both elements. So if you've got a fire-air, then either will work. Granting a unique bonus for each bullet. So in other words, you actually have those dual attacks are even better, right? There's even more going on. So if you do a dual attack, right, you could make it fire, or you could make it air, for example. So you've got even more thought process. These dual attacks have got like a crazy amount of extra effects on. Man, they blew the whole budget on this one. All matching bullets will be consumed to grant their bonuses, right? So you can get all the bonuses at the same time. That's honestly really cool. That's going to be epic when you can pull that off, right? In the event there isn't a matching bullet, the dual attack will create a single bullet that matches the primary attunement. We're definitely excited to see how players utilize the elemental bullet mechanic to maximize their effectiveness. And yeah, goodness me, as the chat has pointed out, yeah, Condi Weaver, stonks are going to be going up. Ranged Condi Weaver, I think even across the board, and something like Tempest, right? Like could also see some good play there. This could be a shoe-in on some of the condition damage alacrity builds, for example, that have, you know, started to perform really well on Elementalist at the same time. But yeah, this actually looks incredibly cool. This is epic gaming. I really like the idea of this. I think the design on this is absolutely stellar. Big fan. And again, CMC, guys. Let me tell you a little secret about CMC. Let me tell you. Ellie main. Yeah. Oh, yes, guys. Also, another thing. Grouch. ArenaNet leader. Ellie main. And then we get this. I'm not surprised. ArenaNet is fully owned and operated by Ellie mains at this point. So you guys are going to be eating good for the rest of the time. So that's the good news. As long as CMC and Grouch remain in power, remain in authority. Fantastic stuff. We love to see it. Now, before we go, I will say that this is actually one of the weapons that we actually kind of know the least about, right? Like, there's so many skills. Huge amount of skills here. We need to see all the Weaver Jewel skills. We need to see all the auto attacks. We need to see all of these two skills, or the 3 skills, or the elemental bullet interactions. Huge amount to actually unpack here. So that is even better. Like, on that live stream, we're going to get a full deep dive on how exactly all of this works. But yeah, still a lot of unknowns about this one. Yeah, the 2 skill reveal limit I feel like it's not cutting it here, right? But there certainly is enough here, I think, to get a little bit hyped up. But anyway, there you go. Elementalist pistol, big fan. I love to see it. You love to see it. We all love to see it. And goodness me, they're going to struggle to top this one, right? Like, NG Shortbow better be damn good if they want to keep up with Elementalist pistol. You know, it's going to have to get out of control. But anyway, that is it. Let me know what you think about this game in the YouTube comments. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe on YouTube, watch the streams, watch the stream on YouTube, watch the stream on Twitch. Okay, follow me on Twitter. I mean, just do all of it. Just engage in a variety of ways. And of course, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little meme video. And well, I'll see you tomorrow for yet another one, because we're not done yet. Okay, we are eternally fresh. Been streaming for 14 hours at this point, and we're still going. But that's it. Boom. We're done. I'm out. I've got nothing more to say about Elementalist pistol. It's pretty good. Boom.